AQ's Blog and Grill.
Hi everybody and welcome to AQ's Blog and Grill. Today our guest is Tony Zambito. Tony is one of the forefathers of buyer personas, and Tony's going to share with us today the start of his journey back in 2002 in the study of buyer personas and where he thinks this whole art and science is going to take us. So welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Alan. Great pleasure to be here today.
Great. Thank you. So let's go into the buyer persona thing right away. And in 2002, you decided to take a chance. You had a vision that you were going to bring to life. And tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. You know, I had a turning point in my life in the mid to late 90s, having the opportunity to meet Alan Cooper, who is the so-called grandfather of personas in general.
Yep.
And it really changed my perspective on the world and on the business. And of course, they were oriented toward user personas, informing design strategies.
Right.
And my background was mostly as a VP of sales and marketing. And I had a vision saying, now, hold on here. There's a way that we can understand buyers at the same way we're trying to understand users. And if we can do that, then we can make a better world just like they were trying to make a better world with user-friendly product.
Right.
So that was the vision I had, and designed a methodology around how do we understand buyers deeply.
What changes have you seen since 2002, which was 11 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
How has the science and the practice of personas developed that you've seen?
I've actually seen two trajectories. I think one is good and one not so good, actually.
Okay.
And the good trajectory is there are firms out there who continue to believe that buyer personas help them to be informed about their overall sales, marketing, and buyer strategies.
Right.
And when they do that, it's impacting many different areas of their enterprise. The other trajectory that's not so good is I think it's been narrowed into a small box, specifically as some sort of a profiling tool for content marketing, which is the hot button right now.
Right.
And so that trajectory has been a misfortune because it has created a lot of misinformation, misperceptions about buyer personas and what they're designed to do. So that one thing I think really needs to be corrected going forward.
Right. Do you think maybe that some sales and marketing teams or departments have just said, yeah, we should be doing personas. No, we don't have time or whatever, or money to dig in a little bit deeper. And so it's just like a checkbox and they're satisfied with doing a profile and move forward?
When sales started to get into profiling, and then they came out with documents about like how to profile buyers, or how to checkbox different ways of identifying buyers and organizations. And I'm seeing the same thing in the world of content marketing. It's like it's a profiling exercise, except we've got a nice picture to go with it, and they're checking boxes. And so it's not quite the revealing in-depth insight that companies can really reshape their strategies from.
Right. And you recently posted that that 80% of content seemed to be swinging and missing that was being developed for marketing purposes, that only 20% was really being effective or successful. So does that sort of fly in the face of this proclamation that content is king?
I think it does, actually. And I think what happens is there's a pattern or a cycle that begins to develop, and it's very easy to fall into that. And so we have a hype situation now about content marketing, which is everybody has to jump on the bandwagon. Let's do marketing automation, and let's get it out there. And what's happening is the more misses they have, the more they feel like they need to get content out. My suggestion in that particular article is that chief marketing officers and leaders in B2B organizations may have to do the counterintuitive thing right now, which is to step back and decide how can they get to know their buyers more deeply,
right? And
what is it that their content should be communicating.
Right.
And so that's the real issue right now. What they're communicating is not something that buyers are really resonating with. And so it's in many ways, it's, I'm Italian, so they're throwing the spaghetti up against the wall and trying to see what sticks.
Okay, so it seems like this is one of these cases where marketing is rushing in and saying, if we can fake authenticity, we'll have it made.
And I think what's happening too is that organizations have not changed as much as buyers' behaviors have changed.
Right.
So you have organizations that are still set up infrastructure-wise and behavioral-wise to do product marketing and sales.
Right.
In the meantime, buyers are changing at a much faster pace. They're looking to expand their knowledge. They're looking to have a vision about the future. So it's a mismatch. The buyer had changed so much that to them, it doesn't matter whether it's a glossy piece of literature or it's online. It's still the same thing.
So tell us a little bit about your work on the buyer journey, the buyer experience journey.
Well, the buyer experience is a very key thing that organizations need to understand. And one way they can understand that is that to realize that there are multiple scenarios that are taking place in a buyer's organization. And that means that you have to be able to provide an experience for each one. And where most organizations are today is to sort of have a one generic view of a buying journey or a buying process. Well, the important thing for organizations to do is really concentrate on what are the multiple buying scenarios that are taking place in an organization today, and then create the ultimate experience around those particular scenarios. Gotcha. And most problematic is when you try to do the one size fit all, even for the experience, you're going to miss out on these multiple scenarios taking place.
Right. What do you think buyer insight is, and what isn't it?
The relabeling of sales intelligence as buyer insights, and that's a dangerous ground. Mm-hmm. Buyer insight takes you to a much deeper layer of understanding. What you're trying to do is you are trying to understand what I call the unarticulated. How do buyers think? Mm-hmm. Sometimes they have a very hard time expressing how they think.
Right.
It's a different path than, say, conventional sales intelligence, which is more of a check mark. Here, on the buyer insight, you are looking for the deeper, profound type of insight, but what comes with it is the commitment to have discovery and observation as part of your plan. And it results in a interpretation. It results in a revelation mm-hmm. that will then inform you on what your future strategy should be. That insight that you have acquired has to be interpreted and reshaped and provided back to your customers, to your buyers, to help them see a different future.
Right.
In other words, here's what we've observed, here's what we've learned, this is what we think it means, and this is what we think it means to you, where you can go in the future.
When we're seeing the expansion of neuromarketing and the ability for science to get a little bit more inside our heads and watch different areas and different lobes light up, how do you see that affecting the study of buyer insight and buyer journeys?
Technology and things like neuromarketing will help us understand better what buyers do, mm-hmm. maybe help us understand how they behave in many ways, but it still doesn't take us to the place of how buyers think, how they interpret things, what's the effective language, what's mm-hmm. the effective interaction right. that's taking place. And the technology can only take you so far in that level of understanding. It comes down to the fact that it is all about human interaction, right. and it takes discovery. It takes the one-on-one sometimes to really understand that deeply.
Right. Isn't this a great period of time to be involved in the marketing and branding and customering space? There's just so much going on.
Oh, I think it's a fabulous time. And I have used this term frequently. We are in the throes of a buyer revolution right now. Mm. And it's a great place because we've got the democracy of information. We have new digital technology that's changing the way business is conducted. And so the opportunity is there for businesses to grab it and say, we can redefine our relationship with buyers now.
Right.
Those that are not doing that are risking really getting behind the pack pretty significantly, because the buyers are outpacing sellers right now in terms of how they're changing their behaviors.
Right.
And recently I've introduced some concept around, to give you as a perfect example, is even users now are becoming more empowered than ever before because of the democracy of information. They are now able to contribute and influence buying decisions based on how it's going to impact their job. And the leaders of today are now more collaborative, more participation. So it's opening up the world in many, many different ways.
Right. And isn't it fun to be us?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's a wonderful place to be right now.
That's great. Well, Tony, thanks very much for joining us today on AQ's Blog and Grill. We have a fabulous custom t-shirt to send to you.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and a pair of our fabulous socks, too. So, I mean, it was really worth you spending the time with us today.
Oh, that's fabulous. Yeah, it was just a joy to do this with you, Alan. Today.
Well, thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Alan.
And thanks for tuning in today. We've got lots more exciting episodes coming up on AQ's Blog and Grill, so please subscribe, and we'll see you soon.
AQ's Blog and Grill.